Yeah, my current strategy, to put simply, is inside out. Um, Again, in the retail space, it's a lot of fun because it's B2C. So, I've worked in a lot of B2B industries as a consultant. I was B2B2B. Um, so being on the front line again has given me so much energy and excitement, and to be quite honest, a real sense of fulfillment. But again, I think that from an inside out approach is critical. So aligning the team in terms of what we want to accomplish as an organization. And, being in a leadership position, I think you have to be really mindful of how you as a leader, or how you as a leadership team, how you align and how you cascade those messages, those behaviors, those values down to your team members. So, for us at First Retail, what we've been working on is real inside out stuff. So, for example, vision, mission, and values. And, I have gone through so many phases in my own career in terms of how I approach vision, mission, and values. And right now I'm very into it, and very into it again, I think, because I'm dealing with such a large complement of frontline staff. And, in retail, again, you have to remember it's a lot of people's first job. So, they're really excited to join a company, and they're really excited to be part of something bigger. And I think values is sort of, a great anchor to hold people to, in terms of this is who we are as a group. And, when you use those values to determine your behaviors and to determine what we respect and what we reward and what we recognize, it really fosters the culture of the business.
So it continues to evolve. When I first came in, like I said, there was a lot of work kind of understanding the metrics of the business. With that, there were definitely, I wouldn't say gaps, but there were areas that I didn't have as much insight into. And so behind the scenes, I feel like there's been a lot of work around our data and understanding our customers and what good looks like within our customer base. So that's been one thing that, in order to continue to build upon a really robust, smart strategy, I need the data. I need to understand our customers more and more. And we have tons of information. It's just getting it into a way that we can use it a little bit better. Product adoption has been a huge focus, as well as customer outcomes. As I'm sure you know, there's only so much, like, when you look at your customer base and you're looking at the key metrics for CS, you have different retention metrics around like churn and downsell and upsell and whatnot. So many of those are lagging indicators, and it makes it hard because it's like the work that you're doing today, you may not see this month, you may not see immediately. And so a lot of what I've been trying to do is balance what are the things that we're doing today that are going to impact our customers today and have a positive impact on them, but also what are the things that we should be doing today that are going to help our future? How can we keep getting better and better as time goes on? And a big key with that has really been more of a focus around product adoption for our customers and delivering value, driving outcomes for them so that they can, the more value they're getting with us, the more likely they are to continue to stay and grow with us. So that's been really important. Our strategy is, with the number of customers that we have a relatively small, scrappy team. And so a lot of what I've been doing is really working with my team to launch more robust digital and scaled strategies for our customers so that they can get what they need when they need it, or before they even need it, before they have to ask for it, that we can anticipate it. And that's where a lot of that data comes in, is trying to understand and build out more of a predictive model for our customers. So we've been in a heavy building phase in the last couple months. Really, I actually just had my QBR with my leadership team, and it's incredible kind of looking through the sheet of how much we've completed in a relatively short amount of time, which is definitely a testament to my team. That's they're the ones that make all the magic happen. But it's been really exciting to see how our customers are engaging with all of that. I think they're really excited to be hearing more from us, to be getting more information and help from us. And the key with that is really taking what we're doing and making sure that value is at the center of it. So it's really trying to add more areas throughout their journey where they can get value from us.
Yeah, definitely. And I can perhaps speak to how we do this at Braze and also generally how I've typically seen it be in other customer success orgs. So we have three main pillars that we typically focus on in customer success at Braze. And so that first important pillar is really customer nurture, which again ties to retention, right? Being able to retain our customers. And of course, growth is also baked into that, right? Retaining and growing our customers. So customer nurture is that first important pillar of CS strategy. And then customer adoption, right? Of course, that does tie to customer nurture, retention to some degree, though I would say that that first pillar of customer nurture is more outcomes driven, whereas customer adoption is more of like the means of getting to that outcome. So essentially through that customer adoption pillar, we are working with our customers day to day to help them meet their goals through our platform. And so that's the adoption pillar. And then the third pillar is customer advocacy. So, when all is good with, our customers, they are very sticky with us, they're growing with us, they're meeting their goals, achieving their goals through our platform. We obviously want them to help spread the word, provide a referral, provide product feedback to us, essentially be an advocate for us, right, in any way that they possibly can, and help bring in other customers or help deepen the relationship that they have with us, right? So customer advocacy, right? So this will help ensure that our customers can help us build and grow a better product and in turn grow their brand too, right? And then, so those are I would say, three main pillars. And then, of course, there's innovation, right? Kind of a secondary pillar, if you will, not in the top three, but a secondary pillar of how can we innovate as we scale our CS org, right? How can we, behind the scenes, more efficiently drive positive customer outcomes? So a lot of this would tie to CS ops. So some internal innovation. How do we collaborate even better with our sales partners, our product partners, right? As examples to drive customer outcomes. And how do we make it easy for CSMs to track health scores for their customers? Kind of all of the behind the scenes that goes into that, as well as external innovation. How do we make it easy for CSMs to spend time with their customers where it's truly valuable, right? So really just thinking of how to power the CS org, how to develop the strategy, how to build the right processes and behaviors as we scale our CS org. So I would say that's a secondary pillar as well. But yeah, those are some of the focuses.
Yeah, so I read a lot of books in my career and had tons of mentors. I don't have just one, I have several mentors. A lot of people in the industry are talking about effortless customer experience, which I'm a big believer in. But what I've done is I've defined effortless myself, not what other people tell me. In my world, how hard is it for me to do business with you? That's my definition of effortless, right? Yeah. So I think what I look at in the future now, or the other thing people are talking about, how he's going to replace all your people. I think that's one of the biggest myths in the industry. We're at a point where AI is enabling humans to be better, right? It's not replacing people, but empowering them to serve your customer in a better, more efficient way. And when you reduce agent effort, it reduces customer effort. And the holy grail that I think people are missing, it reduces your attrition. Because if you think about the context on the low environment, attrition is a huge opportunity. Well, let's say, why are they leaving? They hate their boss. They hate the processes. They like to be down and all those things that Etech does really well. But at the end of the day, let's make it easy for them to do their job. And I think that's where the AI is actually helping themselves.
And you bring that into your current your strategies for that. Are you guys currently leveraging AI in any aspects for customer experience?
everywhere. So I have
Yeah.
AI. I'm analyzing about 4.2 million interactions a month.
Holy cow.
And using the data, and we can talk about it a little bit later, but like we have data on every. I can tell you what you say about you, your brand, your customer. I can tell you what the agents are doing wrong. We can tell you what the processes are doing wrong. And that's really where you leverage AI versus letting it become you. Because I'm not a big fan of bots that aren't programmed correctly. If you've ever had an experience with a bot that's bad,
Yeah.
it's usually because it was built by somebody in marketing, not to offend the marketing people that are listening to this, but typically they're not in the seat. We
Yep.
like to look at data to create a bot, to create a knowledge base. Because, by the way, if you have all the information and the data, you already know what the top 10 questions are being asked. You already know what your best agents are responding to. Why not build it based on that versus what somebody thinks they should build?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think being the marketing person that's developed these types of bots, you definitely want to start with your frequently asked questions from the customer and answer those, right? You want to
A
build
lot of
customer
people,
for.
a lot of people scrape the website, but bold of it. What? Just because it's on the website doesn't mean
Yeah.
it's.
You got to go to the support calls, right? We had this support
Yes.
system, and I pulled all those in because that's the people. That's what they're
And that's-
talking about.
And you're one of the very few that do that. Most, in my experience at least, most of the tech guys build it, right? And by the way, I love technology. I love IT guys, but let's be honest, they never take their call day in their life. They never listen to a call their day in life. We're just looking at, oh, this is what's on our website. Our website is so beautiful. Let's put all this into bots.
Okay, so our customer success team actually used to be revenue generating. So we were at the phase in our revenue growth where our teams were still able to handle revenue generation and the value outcomes delivery. So from the moment that I joined Katalon up until early this year, my team is a quota carrying team. Now, as we grow, we're scaling up. We realize that it's time to specialize. We need to have the sales team continue with commercial conversations so the customer success team can focus on like the value delivery. And so the key focus right now for us is how do we ensure the charter of customer success is retention? How do we ensure retention so that we're able to scale our revenue? Because like I said, we're growing now. As a company grows, right? If you look at the revenue, like just the dollars in proportion to your overall ARR as a company.
And what does ARR mean?
The annual recurring revenue, right? It looks as it scales, the number scales up to like the churn number scales up, and oftentimes that looks like a lot. If you look at, let's say, let's illustrate an example. A 15% churn on a 1 billion ARR company is significantly higher than a 20% churn on a $50 million company. So you kind of see what I'm trying to get at. As we scale up, we understand that we need to focus more on retention and have our CSMs aligned to retention for us to build that sustainable growth. And so that's our key of focus today. And a lot of the motions that we have to do are, what normal customer success motions do. We're trying to improve our sales to CS handoff. We're trying to improve our whole customer journey. And we're also trying to improve our digital success strategy. I know you said focus, but it really there's a lot of different things. But basically, those are the themes that is driving the customer success area of focus. Focus and retention by focusing on improving our processes and playbooks and our digital CS strategy. I think that is the more concise way to answer that question that you have.
Awesome.
Right, that's a great question. I'm definitely past my 100 days, although I would argue that I should probably be back in it because I always feel like I'm still new. There's always, every day is a school day. I feel like there's something new to learn every day. But we are definitely in early stage build, meaning we launched with some of our first customers when I joined. And so we were basically onboarding and going live with some of our first customers this year. So what are we learning? What are we doing? We're starting to build process. We're realizing that there are some repeatable bits that we're like, okay, what the first customer did, the third and the fifth they're also doing now too. So let's build a process around it rather than trying to recreate the wheel every single time. And we're also collecting as much data as we can. Again, very new. We don't have as much historical data as maybe some other more mature customer success organizations, but we are working on creating that flywheel that is customer success and making sure onboarding and expansion and that happens naturally as well. But we're only in the early stages. We're literally just launching and going live with some of our first customers, and we're trying to collect as much data on that customer as well, whether it's product usage, whether it's how they're using their like sandbox versus live environment, whether it's how they're interacting with our documentation and our guides, and maybe it's also how they're working with us, meaning loads of communication. Is email better? Is a call better? We're just figuring all those bits out. So I think that's where we find ourselves right now, is that we're no longer early stage, but we are just trying to build a process around what we know about our customers.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, Nezasa as a company, think of us as kind of Shopify for travel agencies. So we're an e-commerce solution that helps travel companies bring travel products online in packages. So you're probably familiar with the traditional fixed package that nobody really loves to buy because you can't change it. Our software helps travel agencies sell customizable, flexible package tours. So in terms of our size, we have about 80 customers and 60 employees. So we're still a scale up for sure. Our strategy today is about really kind of moving beyond the one size fits all approach to a more segmented approach. So we are focused a lot on clear customer tiers. We have 3 distinct product plans, and you can kind of one-to-one match those to 3 customer segments. And really now we're about, even though we're only 80 customers, building a foundation that will allow us to scale with our long tail, but not just to spend less time with them, but to deliver important insights and knowledge-based articles, training materials to the right person at the right time. So let's call it personalization. So what we're really focused on is looking at things like connecting a lot of our systems, looking at the usage data that we're tracking, and then being able to, in the product, suggest that they read a specific knowledge article or watch a webinar that we did 6 months ago, right? We've just launched inbuilt analytics. So finally, I don't have screenshots of data in QBR decks. I have a hyperlink to the product to go through the QBR, and we'll be further personalizing that so the lower tier customers get that link emailed to them in kind of an automatic QBR every 6 weeks. So kind of driving it more frequently, but with less heft. So I think,
what does QBR mean?
Oh, sure. Quarterly business review. So kind of a review of value with the customer. Our average, order size, ACV, ranges from 30 to 300K. So we're kind of mid-market and enterprise focused. So for the mid-market customer, they need a personalized experience or personalized review of value at their kind of appropriate experience, right? It's not appropriate for us to fly to their office every 3 months and sit down with a PowerPoint for 6 hours, for half a day, excuse me. So focusing on finding the right touch points and using technology to scale our kind of customer success or customer experience offering is really the focus at the moment. We could talk a little bit more about what we've done in the past. Just some highlights. When I joined, we didn't have an onboarding team. So we separated onboarding from customer success and customer support, spun up a new onboarding team, templatized the project plans in some software, and really kind of the key result, actually, we reduced our time to value from 180 days to 79 days in about a year. So that was the bar was pretty low. So, and I'm not sure we did anything super groundbreaking besides just having a dedicated team that focused on it. And of course, we did some other stuff too. But, getting those foundations right was what we focused on in the first year that I was at Nezasa, and then taking those foundations and tailoring them to the right person and the right customer.
Well, look, the board cares about leading valuation indicators, so definitely focus on those. NRR and GRR are obviously, lagging indicators. So the leading indicators and process metrics that help you kind of take a clear pulse and ensure that you're on track are key. And you don't need to go crazy identifying and tracking a million metrics. Like, keep it simple, maybe 3. And recognition that you win when your customers win. So ensuring that if that mindset, doesn't exist in your organization today, help infuse that. You may be the first customer success leader at your company, and therefore a critical part of your job is actually educating your CEO, educating that first team on what like the true value of customer success is, and that it's very much, not a me, but a we strategy, and requires kind of a shared, approach and methodology. And you want to make sure it's reflective of outside in versus inside out intelligence and feedback. So time and time again, I see like customer journey maps that are reflective of internal process or desired process. And that's self-serving and quite opportunistic at the end of the day when we think about it. You really need to walk a mile in your customer's shoes, understand like what good process looks like from their lens, or from their balcony, and then incorporate that into how you're actually serving and scaling, your programs. And then I'd say the last component of a winning CS strategy is actually the execution portion,
Mhm.
right? Execution at the end of the day, it really trumps strategy. So, just keep in mind and remember that you are what you actually do, not what you say you will do. You're not going to be able to, keep the board's interest and maintain their trust if you don't start to show results after the first couple quarters. So something to keep in mind.
For myself, yeah. So right now we work very much on customer relationships. So it can be a bit of a down market. We work in the supply chain and logistics world, so it's important that we're aware of where our customers might be feeling a pinch themselves, and make sure that when they see our products, they see the value. So one metric that I always pay a lot of attention to is something called time to value, TTV. But of course, we don't get to determine what the value is, the customer does. So the effort that we're putting in, especially as a customer is onboarding, coming in into our product, is understanding what is the value that you want to take out of this product. What is it you're looking for? And then with that in mind, then be able to focus even more on helping them see that value. And so that's an area that we focus now, using the tools that we have, using metrics and analytics to understand usage, understands maybe where they're not using the product and see the value there. And then, of course, you're adding education along with that to help them grow and expand, and hopefully continue to expand if their usage and their spend with the company.
Yeah, so we've actually been going through a major transformation at Bonusly. We weren't taking full advantage of the technology that we had available. Our tools were underutilized. We were doing things the hard way, so our processes were maybe effective, but they were kind of not great for the people who actually had to run them. So I'm a believer, as a leader of the customer experience, that the way that you deliver an exceptional customer experience is through an exceptional team member experience. So my strategy covers not only how we're engaging with customers, what resources we need to have available, how we engage with those customers and what the model is, but it's also how do we make the teams most effective? How do we have them working on the things that are most impactful for humans to work on? We have lots of tools now, and we're fortunate at Bonusly. We use great tools. We're using the Gainsight CX suite along with customer education. And so we have a lot of tools that we can configure to handle a lot of the burdensome administrative tasks. And so that's what we've been focused on. And then giving our teams the opportunity to have more compelling engagement with customers. We also stood up customer enablement and programs, and that has been a remarkable impact. So what we're trying to do is ensure that we have the right content available in the right way through the right medium, meeting customers where they're at. Some want it in the LMS, some want to talk to humans. But we don't want CSMs to have to deliver the same thing over and over in a one-to-one scenario with customers. We want our CSMs to truly engage as consultants and trusted advisors. They know what companies are doing across a wide range of companies and strategies. So they can really, when partnering with their customers, help our customers
improve their culture, really deliver a culture of appreciation and drive high performance through their teams. But if we have them focused on, delivering the same training over and over in a one-to-one or a small group scenario with individual customers, that's not a great use of their time, and we can't be as impactful as we need to be. So I don't know if I answered your question fully, but we've been working across the people, process, tooling, and program element to make sure that we have a comprehensive approach that works for our teams, and then ultimately
crikey.
works.
The interesting thing about being a CEO and a BPO provider is you have two dilemmas. First, we have to make money. I'm a CEO in a company with a group CEO and other CEOs. So we have the CEO for the telco, the CEO for the digital bank. So each of us have targets and profit targets. So I can't just say, hey, great, we're meeting our service levels and customer service is great. I have to be, okay, and we're making money. And to make money in a BPO world, you have to get your clients, so the companies who give you the responsibility to serve their customers, skin in the game. They have to realize, okay, I am going to invest in my customer service operation and support your customers in things like natural language, Gen AI, and these things will take away 5 or 10% of the avoidable calls, chats, emails with better natural language self-service. So if I'm investing in that, I will not need as many staff to serve you. But then that's not good for me either, is it? So let's agree that I'll be open and transparent about you. I want to work with you as a client to understand how my Gen AI, my NLP, all these things can actually interface with your strategy as well, your sales, your marketing, your ERP. So let's come up with a joint strategy where I will give you the technology within my BPO operation that allows your customers to not have to speak to my staff as often as they currently do. And they, really, we like that, Alex. But then you have to get them to realize you probably think you're going to do it yourselves, but we can do it better than you. And that's where you really have to say, look, we're not a BPO that just has resources. I talk about 3 things: people, processes, and platforms. So every company is probably looking at the latest contact center, the Genesys, the Avaya, the Cisco, whatever, the Talkdesk. They're all looking at Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, Oracle, Freshdesk, blah, blah, blah. They're all looking at natural language chatbots. We say, no, okay, you don't need to worry about the technology. We, as the BPO partner, will always have the latest state-of-the-art technology. So outsource to us, you can worry about your core business. So if you're a water and electricity company, that's your core business. Worry about that. Don't worry about customer support, as you call it. If you're a telco company, you worry about your products, your marketing, the way you do your tariffs or your network coverage, etc. We will worry about customer. If you're an airline, etc. So what I'm focusing on, that's a generic level. We are literally working with 4 clients right now, in which we have been given the mandate to give them customer service, customer support. And I'm proactively saying, okay, you give me a 3 or 5 year contract. I want to innovate for you. And now they're all like, well, surprising. You don't just want to take the money because they literally have a fixed headcount for 3 years. No, I don't want to take the money. I want to innovate. And clearly you have to get into the detail of, okay, how can we be better with a customer journey in which a customer talks to a chatbot, then has to do a web chat, and then has to request a callback, and make that a natural language conversation where they can just say, hey, why is my bill higher than I was expecting? And they can use natural language, voice or text in English and Arabic. We will link to the back-end billing system, which is our clients, and say, oh, because your usage was 20% higher. Is that in line with your understanding, or would you like to speak to an agent? Well, suddenly you've taken a bunch away. And when the agent gets that contact, they know it's a more complicated issue. They have the insight. And
So we are very much sort of an adoption. We're sort of how to grow the platform. We're in growth mode as a company. And we're really very much focused on our users. And actually for us, that is our lawyers. So the product was designed for lawyers by lawyers. So everything we do is very much lawyer centric, thinking about the processes that they use and how they might be slightly different to other types of organizations. So we've often spent a lot of time focusing on how we can engage with some of our stakeholders who might be information security teams, they might be innovation managers or tech teams. But actually, we need to make sure we are focusing entirely really on those end users, and they're the people that we need to use the platform. And ultimately, the people who are going to grow the product for us in terms of usage.
Our current CX strategy, it is a lot of voice of the customer. Really try not to just leave it at surveys. You know, when you think of, we have a customer satisfaction survey that only gets about a 15% response rate. So you think about, you know, those 85% of customers that aren't saying anything, or maybe, you know, if they had a bad experience, maybe they're going and saying things to their network that we have no control over. And that keeps me up at night too. So not really, I sleep pretty well, but but yeah, that's a big part of the strategy. Looking at certainly going through those surveys. You know, I've set up other triggers in our ticketing system. We'll look for customers that are angry. You know, reading through randomly interactions. I love reading through. We actually trained our customer support team to tag tickets where customers ask for something that we aren't able to do. Maybe it's a feature request. So that's a big part of it. I recently turned on the community feature in our ticketing system and in our help center, and have been promoting that. And it's been cool to see, you know, we get a decent amount of customers that are just trying to find a channel where they can get an instant response, but we are starting to get customers wanting to engage with our product team and marketing, and so that's exciting. Another big area of our strategy, I'm sure you hear this a lot, is just AI and self-service, and using every tool I can to look at how our customers are engaging with our chatbot on our website. Are we creating too much friction for them? Are we not creating enough, and we're letting them through too quickly when there are resources that can help them? Really, you know, our chatbot is really an out of the box sort of thing right now, and looking at ways that we can, you know, just make it more powerful. You know, let customers pay their bill, let them recover their password, let them have a different shopping experience on our website. So those are some of the things I've really been working on from a CX standpoint. But it comes down to listening and reading all the time, and there's just so much insight in there. The more you listen, read, ask questions, the more insight you get from customers and from your internal staff. And so that's a lot of the focus right now.
Yeah, so we actually worked on this just the first half of this year and put a lot of time and energy into it. So we have got our operational model. So for us, we're working on a hybrid model at the moment. So hybrid is obviously when you've got your CX department, but you are also very much connected into the other departments, and they're very much bought into what you're doing as they're working with you. We're at the moment working our way towards an embedded model. So that will be when we don't have need for our CX department anymore, which will be a sad day, but also a great day for the company, because everyone will have an ownership of that CX and a responsibility within their own teams, and we'll all be working towards that common goal. So that's kind of the operational model and the aspiration for us. And then just also working towards our CX maturity. We just assessed it earlier this year, and although we're doing really well and we're on track, there's still a massive amount to go, so that we can kind of get to that leader position and get ourselves to a 5 in our CX maturity. So we're about halfway there. So a lot of the things that we're working on at the moment is really leveraging data and insights from across the company. Because as I said, it's quite large. There's lots of different pockets of information. So a big part of our role is really to pull all of that together, so we have a clear 360 view of the customer across all of the touch points. So that's a really key part of the strategy. And then in addition to that, it's really working around CX culture and engagement, because we're trying to prepare for that embedded model in the future. So it's really important that we kind of get people excited and engaged with various different initiatives to kind of shift that mindset and really lean in that customer-centric, customer-first approach. So they're kind of the key elements of our strategy at the moment. And it's still in the early days. We have a lot of work to do, but it's a really exciting project to be part of.
So you're going to have customers in different states of the life cycle, right? Like you'll have some people who are have really onboarded with your product and they're actually delivering and getting a lot of value with your product. In some cases, it's going to be new customers who've just started their journey with your product. So I think the first step would be to identify where your customers are on their journey is number one, and ensuring that they're getting that smooth onboarding with your product, because that is where the experience starts, right? So that's the first piece the customers got with your product and your teams. So it's important to have that smooth onboarding experience and to have your customers really enjoy being your customer, right? In the very first instance. The next step is for customers that typically are quite mature with your product. What you would want to do is to ensure your teams are guiding your customers to their goals, right? Now, goals and value can mean very, very different things to different organizations. So your teams should be able to guide your customers to their goals, because the moment customers see value and they're able to meet their business objectives with your product, it means your product is actually impactful and is helping customers achieve whatever they've set out to achieve with their investment in your product. Finally, irrespective of where your customers are in their life cycle, it's all about driving positive experience, right? So it could be either case management, or it could be, hey, I'd like a new feature in my product, or I would like to pass on some feedback that I don't think people are hearing. I think it's important to drive positive experiences to show that you as an organization are listening out to your customers, and you've got a place for them in your organization to ensure that you're listening to them and then doing something about it, right? So they know that we are invested in their success with your product.
Almost 3 VOC. You're getting data overload no matter what business you're in. There's more information than you know what to do with. But now we have the technologies such as data mining, artificial intelligence, and so on. You can distill disparate sources and formats of data and parcel it out to be useful and actionable and interesting, stimulating to every single growth effort in your company, every single cost or efficiency effort, every performance standard for every group, and everyone's strategies. So those are the 4 areas that I would be looking to influence: strategies, performance standards, cost efforts, and growth efforts. Because if I can do that as a CX leader, everything else is going to be better right the first time. From the customer's perspective, you're going to see much higher growth from that.
Do you want to dive in a little bit more into each of those 4 sections and how you can currently, strategize each of them?
Oh, for sure. So you have people in growth efforts, such as entering new markets, creating new products or services, modifying or creating new business models, such as your pricing strategies and rebates, warranties, and things like that. All of that is around business models. You even have mergers and partnerships. All of those are areas where you're trying to grow your business. It makes no sense to do any of those in a silo, because the whole point of those efforts is to attract and garner as much of the market for that as possible. So if you're using customer insights as the basis for every one of those efforts, and then frequently checking in with customers as you're creating those feedback loops and the ability to respond quickly, that's what's meant by agile, right? So agile shouldn't just be something that we're applying to certain, website designs or lobby designs, touch points that customers have. It really should be a mentality and a methodology that everyone uses across the company as they're creating things. It's just customer-inspired business management. So that's one thing. About the cost cutting or efficiency efforts. It makes no sense to do across-the-board cuts, because you actually need to invest for more value here or there or whatever. And a lot of things are just done fairly blindly or not well informed.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at what is bothering customers, anything that's bothering customers is going to cost you. It costs you in inquiries. It costs you in a lot of silent behaviors that customers have, where they churn or complain, put negativity out there.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you have that, your marketing and sales budgets have to work harder to make up for the negativity, like longer sales cycles, more proof points,
Mm-hmm.
and so on, making up for all the churn that happened. It costs you in escalations and remedies and returns and so on and so on. So that it really becomes kind of an endless cycle of losses when you're doing things that bother customers.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, most of the things that come out of a dispositioning report from customer service or a real root cause analysis from your win-loss or churn studies and such is not all of the blame goes to the touch points. Quite a lot of the contributing factors are from groups like legal, finance, even HR, procurement, and so on. And so it makes more sense if you're going to be looking for efficiencies to focus on getting the pebbles out of customer shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how you're going to stem the tide of all these costs. And if you look to eradicate the root cause of those things, guess what? Now you're freeing up customers from all of that negativity,
Mm-hmm.
worry, confusion, and so on. You're freeing up your resources. Engineers and others who used to have to troubleshoot are freed up to create patents and other high value things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really a gift that keeps on giving. Otherwise, it's a sinkhole that keeps on taking.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted me to go through the 4 areas?
Yeah,
or?
sure. Yeah, keep going. You're doing great.
Okay. So the third area is performance standards. So, there's no real good thing that comes from this is just how our industry does it, or that's how we've always done it. That's really crazy thinking because things are always changing in our world.
Mm-hmm.
We have new technologies, changes in the economy, regulatory forces, social forces, economic, all kinds of things. So it's a moving target, what people expect, and also how well you're performing to those expectations. No such thing as a safe zone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I say that it doesn't make any sense to do what your industry has always done because there's no good industry, or there's no really awesome industry. I base that on observations from the Forrester CX Index as one evidence point, but there could be many others. In the Forrester CX Index, there's excellent, good, okay, and poor. And no industry has crossed the line to excellent. In fact, no industry has crossed the line to good.
Wow.
All industries are still in the okay or poor area. Only one company has crossed the line to good. All of the other companies are in the okay or poor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that one company was USAA, and they're barely over. So as a university instructor, I've taught 25 courses at UC Berkeley Extension, UC Santa Cruz, San Jose State University, and so on. But that would be a C grade, right? I mean, everyone's pretty much at a C grade.
Mm-hmm.
Only one company has hit a B grade, and nobody's had an A grade. That makes no sense to operate that way. So we're really in the baby phase of customer experience maturity. Definitely. We should be giving ourselves credit for all the progress that's being made. But again, it's a moving target. We're not moving fast enough. In fact, I love that Forrester CX Index because it's only 6 questions and they're not that hard.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty basic things. So I think that, we need to be going about it with these root cause things will make all the difference in breaking that ceiling. But see, if you mine the comments of customers, and look for the things that are causing emotion. Emotion negatively, emotion happily. Those will be your moments of truth, as well as indicators of how performance need to change. We need to have more of the good and less of the bad. So you should be using those technologies to tell us this, and then take it back to every single group, safety department, facilities department, HR department, every single department can have better guidelines of what good means. See, even we don't know for our overall customers in marketing, and so I don't think we really know what good experience means in a lot of cases, because we're looking too much at tasks to be done, we're looking too much at scenarios, and not enough at the ultimate reason why people are going out of their way to get something from us in the first place. Because people will rather not buy anything if they don't need to buy something.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you're looking at that ultimate aim that the customer has for why they are pursuing your type of solution in the first place, why they are going with your brand instead of a different brand. Say, for example, my mom goes with the brand that makes her feel safest. She is risk averse. She doesn't want risk. Me, I'm a little more willing to take some risk, but I don't want to take time with stuff. Okay? So for her, if she's feeling like something's a bit risky, she's getting loose in the saddle. She's thinking about a different brand. For me, things that are taking a bunch of my time, that's what's happening to me. I want to be looking somewhere else. So this is the ultimate aim. This is the higher reason why we're hiring your thing to do something for us. That's what a job to be done is. You're getting confused with tasks to be done. Now, when you identify 2 to 4 of those overall themes for your brand, it's usually no more than that. It keeps it simple for the safety group, the legal group, the facilities group, the finance group, every single group, including accounting and all the touch points, including engineering and all the touch points, to keep those 2 or 3 themes as their watchword. That's a performance standard. Are we helping or hurting risk? Are we helping or hurting timeliness? Okay, and so on, whatever the case may be for your brand. And further, when you do the root cause analysis of these prevalent issues coming into service and so forth, you're able to help people see what it means to do a good job. They didn't know that they're throwing things over the fence to service because their thing wasn't timely, it wasn't connected, it wasn't quite the quality in whatever aspect. So this communication to people for their performance standards makes all the difference in reducing those costs, in making more budget available for everybody, and also making your brand more magnetically attractive to customers. So the 4th area was efficiency. Wait, did I talk about efficiency yet?
No, not yet.
Strategies. The 4th area is strategies. And that is where you want to take a look at customers' opinions of your opportunities and threats in the market, customers' opinions of your strengths and weaknesses. Now, it sounds like I'm saying go do a survey. I'm not. I'm saying make use of the almost free VOC you have, which includes all of the digital presence in your ERP, your CRM, your whatever, right? It includes all the stuff that you just have. But whatever you have, be mining that to look for what are customers' impressions of where you're well suited for opportunities, or where you're not well suited for threats on the outside, and then on the inside, strengths and weaknesses. Now, if every group was to do that from the corporate first, and then giving some flavor of that to everybody else, now you're getting everybody aligned, focusing on the same things. First of all, that overall job to be done. Second, seeing the positioning of our company from the customer's eyes. Now, add to that your own wisdom. Right now and always, we've been doing it backwards, right? I think our opportunities are this. I think our strengths and weaknesses are that. Oh, and by the way, some customer anecdotes are this and that, maybe, right? You know, common sense business management, this surely should be in the 101 course in MBA schools. See what's making your customers' world happier, more successful, all of that, and use that as the basis, and then get everybody aligned on those strategies instead of having willy-nilly everyone's different ideas. It's no wonder we have a lot of waste and employee anxiety these days.
Well, it varies. We're consistently trying to obtain information to improve our customers' engagement with our platform, awareness of the brand per se. So it's pretty consistent from that perspective, but it does need to shift based on what we're seeing in the marketplace and what our customers are asking for. When we post, when we have listening posting, we're gathering information from them in different areas.
So now if you can talk about that a little bit more, what kind of listening posts have you established? What kind of stuff do you do currently?
Yeah, it varies, but most of the things are pretty fundamental. We do a lot of surveys, not to the point to where they have an excessive amount of fatigue, but we also implement what I call success plans. These are touch points by our customer-facing staff where we're trying to just identify what's going to make the customer successful when they're engaging with our platform. Basically, we're going to uncover their needs, wants, desires, and outcomes. We're going to document that, and that's really going to be our playbook to figure out how we're going to have a successful campaign. And that's where we get a lot of good nuggets of information to help influence that roadmap like we talked about.
Yeah. So I think right now, I took a look at kind of the future and how that looked as we continued the evolution. And I believe there's kind of 4 areas I started to focus in on. One is data. Data is going to be necessary. It's necessary for personalization. I think the CX experience in and of itself really kind of revolves around meeting the customer where they are and ensuring that you're doing that in the right way and at the right time with the right content. So for us, personalization becomes really important, and data, really getting those data models and those databases intact so that you can actually implement on that. That really helps with the precision, that helps with the outcomes at the end of the day as well. So trends like Customer 360, we were looking at personalized AI content. Those were kind of things, as well as kind of really leaning into how could we anticipate next best action within the models and some of the blueprints we were putting together. The next one was text analytics. So I think that what we find is utilizing AI is going to be important, but it really helps out kind of any kind of clinical efficiency, physician assessments, and then customer service, kind of call center proficiencies. So we were taking a look at that. So that was a really important second kind of futuristic thing we were leaning into. The third was comprehensiveness. So in the diagnostic space anyway, it wasn't just one thing. It was a software, it was a hardware, it was an app, it was another diagnostic, it was feedback loops to the physicians. And all of that comprehensiveness really helped create better outcomes for our patients. The problem is that it could be really complex. It could be complex for us to implement, complex front facing or front stage for the customer. So what we were doing was actually trying to use human-centered design to help guide us and model and develop the way we thought to make it as simple as possible.
And what is human-centered design?
Yeah, human-centered design is really kind of looking at, and for us, it was really around taking a persona or a person, customer, representative customer, and taking them through a journey, but then also looking at how do you meet them where they are in their language, in their environment, understand all that, and then come up with a way that isn't a business way, but it's more of a way that you would do it as a normal person, as a normal human. We're taking so it has a lot of common sense and practicality to it when you kind of lean into it, but it's kind of getting out of our own way to try to understand, these guys are, they have certain rituals every Sunday if you're a certain cultural group, or so it's kind of understanding that customer in a way that we're stepping into their shoes and their lives. And then what we do is design solutions around that. So we try to meet them where they are with experiences.
Yeah, my strategy is mixed now, but it's still very exciting. So it remains listening to voice of customer, sharing voice of customer throughout the organization, right? Because as customer experience leaders, if we just keep all of the survey data to ourselves, that's not going to help anybody. So we have recurring meetings with product leaders, app leaders, process leaders, and we share what our customers are saying, the good and the bad, and we work towards getting areas of improvement on their associated roadmaps so that we can improve the experience and help our customers have a better experience. The other thing that I'm doing, which is interesting and I enjoy equally as much, is process excellence around waste and defects. Right. So, listening to the customer, they tell you what they want you to do more of, but also if you turn the lens internally on yourself, you can see where process is broken. You can see where there is waste. And that results in a poor customer experience, either with low first contact resolution, repetitive processes that just frustrate employees. And so I'm able to split my time in voice of the customer and sharing that broadly, but then also turning it on ourselves and working on defect reduction and waste reduction. And that's been pretty exciting here.
That's